I'm so happy you're back.
I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, my word. You said you looked at your calendar and it's been how long since we podcasted?
It was November 9th. Enough that YouTube only gave me a number of months.
And you have a stack of finished objects to show since we've been.
Oh, I'm just so excited to get to chat with you today.
I'm happy. We have lots of stuff to talk about. So people can, I think I'll put in chapter breaks because it's going to be a bit of a podcast today. So if people want to skip ahead, they can, but I think they won't. I think that it's fun to see all your finished objects and talk about what's coming up and why we're doing this in August.
Yes.
So I look back, it's been 2 years ago, August 22 is when we did the last Clog vlog.
Wow. I that's what it makes me think of August. Just August is for making clogs.
Yes. So if we have new viewers, I guess, I've been accused before of just assuming everybody knows. I'm Jana with Purl Together. This is my dear friend Jill from Illinois. She's been podcasting with me for several years now. She's also been called my external hard drive. When we do live events in person, when we do our retreats in Ogden, Utah, Jill is my right hand. And I did not have her with me during the summer when we had Purl Camp. And one of the attendees said, "We miss Jill." I mean, I pulled it off. It was fine. I had a little help from my sister, but you are like my external hard drive.
Just turn the lights on and off and regulate temperature. Make sure everything's soft. And it's like a sous chef in a kitchen, chop it all up. And
you got to have one because you make you make the chef look good.
We have so much fun.
So anyway, on that note, I will say that fall retreat registration is open for another 12 days. If people are interested in coming to our fall retreat in Ogden, registration closes August 15th. The dates for the retreat are October 3rd through the 6th. And we are going to make lace mandalas. Would you like to see a sample?
I would, very much so. Holy cow.
Yeah. So this is one, it's not showing up so well. I mean, it's better.
Yeah, I was going to say on your shirt.
Anyway, you get the idea. And this is one 20-gram mini of fingering weight. And then, and I could have even probably pulled it a little more if I had a little larger hoop. But I'm bringing the supplies. All the knitters need to bring is, I think I knitted this on a US 6 or a 4 millimeter. So, and it would look good with whatever, your mileage may vary. But I have a couple different size hoops because people's gauge tend to be a little different. And then I have at least 2 people that attended retreat in this camp in the summer, and that will be, and that will be coming back in the fall. So although they've knitted this once already, they will have the option to knit this again in a different color or make a different pattern. I have an alternative pattern too. If a spirally thing's not your jam, I'll have another option. So fun. And mostly we're just, there'll be a little bit of troubleshooting instruction, like here's how you can read your lace knitting and how to fix a missed yarn over, things like that. But mostly this year, we're just going to hang out and knit together and, visit and eat.
Food is good.
So that'll be fun. That'll be a ton of fun. So that's coming up.
Yes.
Links are all down below. I will say that. And we are doing Clog vlog every Tuesday in August. Jill and I are going to podcast and we're going to talk about, because Jill wants to knit felted clogs every August.
I need to.
Tell everyone why this started.
Oh my gosh. So my friend gave it all the way back to the very beginning. My friend, I was an elementary principal and her child was in kindergarten, and every day at the car pickup line, she would be knitting. I was not a knitter at that point in time. And every day, I'd come out, have my walkie-talkie, be calling kids, loading kids in the car, and she would be in the near the front knitting every day. And so that year for Christmas, I received a pair of slippers of clogs,
Mm,
and they were wonderful. And then I wore through them, but
mm.
didn't know her well enough yet at that point in time to ask for some. And by that time, we were pretty good friends. I was pregnant, had my second child. She brought some food over. I had my slippers on, but I had packing tape on the bottom because of the holes. And she just thought that was an abomination and said, okay, I'm going to make you this pair, but you have to make your next pair. So then I started knitting washcloths and then I started knitting clogs. And when you have a series. And so she gave me the pattern, but I was trying to figure something out and I Googled it and I found you.
That's how you originally found me?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and
It
that
was meant
was
to
in
be.
August. That was in August.
Yes. I
Because
was,
I remember it was late August when I started the felted clog tutorial because I remember my kids, we did virtual academy, which is public school at home, and my kids had like live lessons, kind of in a Zoom environment, but they had their teacher, and I was sitting outside podcasting because the kids were inside, and like I'm loud, and they would be like, "Mom, shh, be quiet. We're in class." So I was sitting outside recording the introduction to the podcast because the kids were in class at the time. So that's why it happened to be in August.
and you had a visor on and you were kind of on your front porch and your hair was kind of like flipping. And I remember it so well because then every time I knit clogs, I went back to those same videos. And it's hilarious because not only do you remember the techniques, you remember like the funny things you would
The
say in certain parts
phrases.
or the jokes that you would make as you were knitting or what was happening in your
Yeah.
life. It's so funny
And what's
that
so funny is you've repeated that back to me, and I'm like, wait, did I say that? What?
they were just it's just fun and it's neat because that's the stuff that runs through my head then when I do the clogs, and they're addictive. Once you start to make them and love to make them, you want to make them for everyone, which is a blessing and a curse
It's
because
true. And now at this point, over the years, now, I mean, not like in 1 year, but over the last, like, I think I started making them about 15 years ago. Over the years, I've made 37 pairs. So
because
yeah.
people love them and then they wear out and they want another pair.
Well, you can't, and I will say, people have asked me, can you repair them? You can't. You can patch them. You can knit another sole and put that on there. And then the raggedy bits from the interior sole will kind of felt together with the new sole. You can do that. However, it, it's a pain. It's difficult to felt. It's hard to felt that. You could knit another sole, but it's difficult to felt it to fit that one. And then when you sew that on, you're still only going to have one layer on the holy bits. You can patch it. On the other hand, what I feel like is a better option is go ahead and hold that up again if you would. I guess I could have brought
Now
what I
this
want to
is
do is
why I have to
I want
this
to turn them upside down, like turn it upside down. And then I want to put potting soil in there, screw them onto my wooden fence, and put a flower coming out of it. Because wool absorbs the moisture, right? And then your flower or your wood, you see what I mean?
that'd be fun.
Yeah. So
That
I'm
would
going
be a
to take
lot of
all my
fun.
old ones and screw them on my fence and put potting soil and
Oh
flowers
my
on.
gosh, that'll be so cute.
Yeah.
That
Like a
would be
little
cute.
boho hippie garden vibe.
Yes, I love it. Little aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this is why, and well, you know, I think last year I had made some for my dad several years ago. So his wore out, and people's wear out. I'm harder on mine than most. And so every year there's somebody's to redo. So
I
this
know.
year it's me.
Have you chosen let me back up before we talk about the yarn. So the version of the tutorial that Jill watches is the vintage version from like 2000,
I
I don't
don't
know,
know.
18 or 19. I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
have updated it since then, but Jill still insists on watching the original one.
I like the original because those are the instructions that are in my head. That's how I learn best.
It's kinda like watching the same movie over and over. I'm sure that at this point, you have watched it more than anyone.
Oh, it's my favorite part, and I will tell you, even now, after all those pair, I will still make sure I go to the part when I'm at the near the end where I'm attaching the soles together. Always.
So, I will put the link below to the vintage version that Jill wants to watch all the time. I have updated the tutorial, and I will put the link to the updated version as well. However, having said all that, I have had several people ask me, could I show how I knit them flat? Because
Ooh.
here's why. For example, like when I knit the very biggest size for my husband because he's 6'4" and wears a men's size 13, um, I don't have quite the right size circular needle that works very well for that. And I don't it's a pain to in my opinion, it's a pain to magic loop the foot part when you're doing the
Oh,
wrap and turn short.
that
It's
would be.
I don't so anyway, I started knitting them flat and then just seaming them up at the back, which is like, this big, right? So it's easy to do that. So I will put an addendum to the
Oh,
most recent,
fun.
you see what I mean? I'll add an addendum to how to knit them flat to the most recent playlist. Most of it's still going to be the same, but there are a couple of moments when I'll be like, okay, well, here's where I divert from the pattern and what I do to make them to knit them flat. So you can knit them on straights, but it's a little tight and awkward, but mostly just back and forth on a circular. So people
Nice.
have asked for that. So I'm going to do that this year.
That's exciting.
And I'll let people know when there's a new video regarding that. If I don't specify that this is a departure, then just assume that I'm following the regular pattern. Okay.
That makes sense.
Have you chosen your yarn?
I have. So I've knit enough clogs over the years that I have a tub of leftovers,
Same.
and I always use the same 2 colors for my base. But I
For the
will
cuff and the sole.
yes.
Right.
Yes, for the cuff and the sole. So actually, I had it all lined up because I intended to start earlier this summer, and then we chatted, and I'm like, "Oh,
Clog vlog.
that." Yes. So these were going to be all leftover bits, and I pulled them out last night, and I don't think there's enough contrast. So I pulled a different one.
Wow.
So the beautiful part about having knit them for so long is I can just use up all my leftover
Oh,
balls.
for sure. And you don't need to do any special splicing. You can spit splice if you want to, but you can also just tie a little square knot. It's going to all mush together when you felt it.
Yep. So this originally was going to be my base. Holy cow, it's yarn
Yeah.
everywhere here. Um, and
So
then
when Jill says the base, she means the contrast on the bottom, the sole, and then the cuff. And despite what people think, it's counterintuitive, you need more of the sole and cuff color than you do the top of the foot because you're knitting 2 soles for each clog. So you need 4 soles, so people don't realize that you'll actually need 2/3 of your yardage is for the soles and the cuff, and only 1/3 of the yardage is for the top of the foot because that's all you're doing. So that's why I just wanted to clarify that.
no, I appreciate it. I don't know why I'm calling it a base.
No,
Your
that's
base
fine though, because
layer?
it is.
I don't
It's the
know.
base, it's the foundation, and then your cuff color. So it's the 2 soles and the cuff, and that uses more yardage than the top of the foot color.
It
And there is a
absolutely
note
does.
on that on the pattern, but people seem to kind of just breeze over that. So I'm just saying when you're planning your colors, you need 2/3 of your yardage for whatever size. I use worsted held double. A lot of times you can also use a single strand of bulky, but your slippers will not be as thick.
I use worsted held double as well.
I
And
like
the
it.
great part about worsted held double is then
It
when you
felts
have
really well.
leftover bits and bobs,
Yeah.
you can combine them. So these slippers, I had made a hot pink for a friend, for Lindsay actually, and
Yeah.
then a light pink for a different friend. And then this is the leftovers.
Yeah, you marled them together. It's a great way to use up bits. I've made Franken slippers that are like striped with whatever I had left over.
Oh,
I
fun,
might do that this time.
fun. Well, this was original. Okay. So there is more contrast than what I saw last night in the dark. I pulled it out and I thought, oh, there's not enough contrast.
But look
So
how cute that is. It's
for my
pretty.
soles, I always use the light gray or this darker gray. Oh, I like the light gray better.
Oh, and let me make a note too. If you're using up leftovers, your inner sole doesn't have to match your outer sole. Just saying. You could have one color for the inner sole and one color from the outer sole, and then have your cuff match the outer sole. But you could have a different color for the inner sole if you were using up leftovers. So you could just knit your first sole, which we will do for next week,
Mhm.
and then see how much yardage, weigh it, see how much yardage the first sole uses before you start knitting the top of the foot part. Then you'd know.
Oh, and put it in my Ravelry so then I have it.
Then you'd
That
know,
is
yeah,
very
then you'd
smart.
know how many grams each sole takes, and you'd know if you'd have enough for the inner and outer to be the same or not. I don't mind the inner sole being a different color than the outer sole, because the bumper that you knit that curls over, that makes the
Mhm.
edge around the bottom, that's gonna match the outer sole. See what I mean?
What is your take on using different brands of yarn? Okay, because so my leftovers in my bin, I have one brand is in a baggie and another brand is in a different baggie.
Yeah.
So, what is your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, do it if you don't mind that they could felt at different rates. For example, the lamb's pride that I often use, that's wool. I'm not sure what breed it is, but it's wool, and then it's like 15% alpaca or mohair. Sorry, not alpaca. It's mohair. It's like 15% mohair. Those two fibers combined are going to potentially felt at a different rate than like your Cascade 220 or a Patons, however you say that. That's 100% wool. Because also Corriedale might felt at a different rate than Targhee, than any other wool. That's, if it says 100% wool and it's a big box brand, it's totally fine to use that. It's as long as it's not superwash. It will, but it could felt at a different rate if they're not the same brand, which is also fine. But if you want it to be nice and uniform, then your mileage may vary. Like if you're using up stuff, then do it. But you might be able to see like a little outline of the stitches. It might not felt at the same rate as the other brand, that might mush together and be a seamless, or where you can't see the individual
Mhm.
stitches. Like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I had a
You could
friend that
also felt your swatch and compare. Make a pot holder and see if you're that worried about it. But for crying out loud, they're slippers, right?
yes. Yeah, so actually now I'm super excited because then I can use up all of my old little and I have more tiny ones, but yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Use them up.
I'm
Use them
excited.
up.
It'll
But
be
if you were
fun.
giving them for a gift and you're concerned about the difference in the felting rate and how that might look, then I would say, if someone is concerned about that, do a swatch. Skip
Mhm.
ahead in the playlist to the felting part, knit a good size rectangle, because it's going to felt like at least 30% roughly, and then felt it and see if you're worried about it and it's for a gift or something. But if,
Mhm.
I mean, it's for you and me, go for it.
Hmm. I will just say, be ready. If this is your first pair, it's kind of addicting once you get
For sure.
real.
I think this will be, like I said, my 37th or 38th pair, I'm not sure.
Wow. That's exciting. I have a bag that's just dedicated to felted clogs because then I keep all of the tools that I need are already in here.
I have a tub.
Oh, that's smart.
Can I show you something?
Yes.
I knew that would make you laugh.
It's the yarn that's bigger than your head. Looks like a
Still,
basketball. How?
okay. For viewers that don't understand this, this was a 4-H project for my kids that went awry and got frogged. It was some massive poncho thing that somebody wanted to make when they were like 9 years old.
Uh,
And then they decided they didn't like it and pulled it all out. But instead of winding it into reasonable size balls, said child decided to make a giant ball and just kept winding.
Way
I
more
thought it was
fun, Mom.
so I held this up last year and it was a little bit bigger
Oh, that's
because
hilarious.
I made my clogs from this same ball last year and there's still this much left.
That's so funny. Oh, that's so funny.
I may or may not use this because I'm a little over it. But I thought
Got
I
a
would
few
show you
more
now.
pair there.
It's now between basketball and volleyball size, I would say.
You could do your inner soles from that.
I could. I mean, I'm a little tired of it, to tell you the truth. So I have not decided yet what yarn I'm going to use, but I will use up leftovers most likely. Although I have some like, well, and I think this is, I don't know what size, if this is bulky or worsted, but I have some like Franken yarn that I might use too. We'll see.
Oh, it'll be fun.
Isn't this dumb? I just
That
thought
is
I would hold
fun.
this up so you can see it because you laughed.
I do. It's like it's larger. It's that's so fun.
What do you do with, yarn from a kid? Yeah.
You make lots and lots and lots of pairs of clogs, and then you can't tell anybody's clogs apart because your husband's clogs and your clogs and the kids' clogs are all green.
I
You could
know,
be
but they've
critical.
moved out now because they're big girls. They're adulting.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's cool. Anyway, I haven't decided. I haven't decided on my yarn yet. I'm going to have to get after it though. We're going to do this in segments. So every Sunday in August, we're going to record and the podcast will come out on the channel on Tuesdays. So we'll do the segment. So I'm going to put a thread up on Ravelry so people can show their yarn, you know, and you can also post in the Facebook group. I want to see your yarn. I want to see what everybody's doing. I love that. So if you show on Instagram, please tag me at Purl_Together. I'd love to see that. And well, yeah, Tuesdays. So the first tutorial, we're just going to knit our inner sole for
Yep.
next week. And that's not a lot. It's a manageable project for over the course of 4 weeks. It's totally manageable.
Mhm.
So for next week,
It's where I learned wrap and turns, and your video takes you through that. They come together very fast. It
they
is a
do.
gratifying
They do.
project.
It is gratifying. And let's just do that the inner sole for week 1 because you can do 2 of them.
Mhm.
So you can, if you get done before the following Tuesday, then just start the second one.
Yes, and it's great to do it in August. The reason I like to do it in August is because if you were a thinker or planner, a header for Christmas gifts, because then if
Yes.
you decide you really, really like it, then you can decide if somebody you
And it's
care
not a
about
giant
needs.
thing on your lap. It's hot. Yeah. Cool.
Yay.
I'm excited to see all of your projects since last we podcasted.
Oh, me?
Well, should we talk? Can I
Oh,
talk real quick about my fundraiser thing and then we'll move into the finished
yes,
projects?
absolutely. Oh,
Okay.
it's so pretty.
So I am knitting 2, not 1, but 2 Afghans or throws for my charity, one of my volunteer efforts. I am on the Wyoming board of directors for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And that's important to me because Wyoming is consistently in the top 3, usually the top 2 in the nation for suicides per capita. So that's people per 100,000. So the reason I clarify that is people are like, well, that's because you're a sparsely populated state. Well, yes, that's true. However, I'm talking about number of suicides per 100,000. We're not going to get into the details, but the reason that that's true for Wyoming is because we're behind like 20 or 30 years as far as, mental health and that social stigma of people seeking help. And because it's a very rural state, a lot of people have to drive like 40 miles to town, right? To go to doctor's appointments and things like that. So it's an issue. I'm doing a out of the darkness walk. We do a walk in, some people will remember the one I talked about last spring on campus. We're doing another one in Cheyenne, which is Laramie County, in September. So I'm doing a fundraiser to raise money for the Wyoming chapter of the AFSP. Half the money stays here in Wyoming, which is very important. And then the other half is for the national because they fund our education and research programs. We have delegates that go to advocacy, like to Congress and things like that. So that helps fund all of that. So the first project that I'm knitting is called the Nectar Blanket by Isolde Teague. And I've posted already a couple of times on social media, but it's a hexagon thing. And you knit
Pretty.
each one.
That
You
is
knit each one and
gorgeous.
then seam them together. So far, I have made, I think
Look,
13, maybe
you've got a
14.
great little stack there. They're so pretty.
There's
It's
13.
so
This is the one
pretty.
that's blocked. The 13 or 14 of these, and then there's a border that's going to be just a very slightly different color. So
Wow.
I'm working on my little hexagons. So this will be raffled off. So I'll put a link down below for my donation for my walk page, my fundraiser page. None of the money comes through me. It all goes through the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is a very well-known charity. So when you donate, each increment of $10 that you donate gets you a raffle ticket for the Nectar Blanket, or you'll have a choice of how you want your tickets allocated. Or I'm knitting the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart.
Oh my gosh.
So this is
They're
a
both so
gradient from
beautiful.
inside. It's going to go all the way out to like a dark purple.
Wow.
Right. Because this was a mini. I don't have the rest of them. They're in the dining room. So it starts, goes all the way out. Right now, I was telling you earlier, right now, this is 576 stitches around one time. But it's great TV knitting because, you just have several rows of knit, 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 and then you just have this little like double yarn over thing. And then sometimes you have just a yarn over and a knit two together. And so it'll be fantastic. It'll probably be about between 5 and 6 feet in diameter when it's done, when it's blown.
Wow.
So I'm just knit, knit, knit between this and this, knit, 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 knit. So yeah,
Oh,
give me suggestions down below for a good Netflix because there's a lot of sit in front of the air conditioner Netflix knitting right now.
wow. So pretty.
Yeah.
So pretty.
This is
Oh, that's
baseball
gorgeous.
knitting mostly at the moment. So
Oh, fun.
yeah. So I had a couple of people that have donated like $50 and they'll say, okay, give me 3 chances for this one and 2 chances for the other one. So you can email me and tell me how you want your tickets allocated. And I'm keeping a spreadsheet.
Oh, nice.
And then we're going to do the wheel of names. And I'll do
Oh,
that
that
on
will
my channel and it'll go, tick, 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 tick. Yay, winner. See what I
oh,
mean?
that's gonna be fun.
So that's how that'll work. So if you'd like a chance to win either of those, or, you can have your however much you donate in $10 increments, you can tell me how you want that allocated, which way. So I'm just knitting, knitting, knitting. The dates for this are September 28th is the walk. So I will do the drawing the 29th or the 1st. I will definitely do it before we leave for Ogden. The drawing will happen absolutely before we leave for Ogden. So knit, knit,
That's
knit.
exciting.
That's what
Oh
I'm
my
doing.
gosh. They're gorgeous. Those are beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, I'm at a part with the double yarn over, so I can't do this while we're talking. So
Oh,
because you do an SSK double yarn over and then a knit two together and then you knit four. So I have to count is the point.
yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm working on a sock.
Oh, tell me about your sock.
Oh, this was Woolens and Nosh Club color from like January, I think. So love it. This is using my Jana's Perfect Heel method, which I'll link to that on Ravelry. And that it looks like a regular heel flap and gusset, and it is, but Jana's Perfect Heel uses your actual measurements from your ankle and your heel and the Pythagorean theorem to fit you perfectly. So you know exactly how long your gusset needs to be to fit your instep exactly right. No
Nice.
more guessing.
Nice.
So that's what I'm doing.
That's exciting.
And I'm knitting dishcloths for my kids.
You know me, I'm a big dishcloth knitter. That was one of my
Yeah.
things I was going to do this year. I used to knit a lot of dishcloths, and then I was knitting a ton of socks, and I had no dishcloths. So this year, at the beginning of the year, I said, I'm going to knit at the beginning of every month. I'm going to knit 3 or 4 dishcloths before I knit anything else. So I'll stop whatever project I'm doing and go through. So theoretically, by the end of the year, I would have this great big stack to give away. But the problem is, I've started giving away before the end of the
Wow,
year.
still, you have a
So
big
my
stack.
so my stack is not as big. My mom, oh my gosh, I was over at my parents' house and my mom had stitched together her washcloths like with a needle and thread, the holes. Like, "Mom, you don't need to do that." So 6 of them went to my mom and then another 5 went to somebody who was moving. I just think they're the best
I
housewarming gifts.
know. So is this the grandma's favorite pattern?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I know some people don't like the ones with the holes. I just do the plain old one with the holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So,
Awesome.
I'm
And
excited.
that's also great TV knitting. And it's a really good thing to have. And you know what's really cute? Like, let's say you're having a, I don't know, any kind of a gift. You could just take like one of those artisan handmade soaps, fold your little dishcloth or roll it up, tie it with a cute little bow with a handmade soap from your local farmer's market person. And like, it's sweet.
It
Doesn't have
is.
to be a kitchen dishcloth. They make great face scrubbies. Just saying.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, love them.
I do very, very, very much.
And you
So,
have your cupcake tier behind you with all your kitchen dish. That's fantastic. Always
that's
ready.
that's my yarn. Yes.
Oh,
So,
and I will do a quick plug. I have a whole Learn to Knit series using dishcloths because it's a great way to learn something new. Yeah,
it was I'm wondering if everybody that's how I learned. I knit dishcloths for years.
that's not how I learned, but that's how I wish I would have learned.
How did you learn?
Oh, it's probably a stupid scarf, and I hate that because scarves are long and boring, and nobody wants to knit all that. A dishcloth is like an attainable, satisfying small project. And then once you've knitted one in just like stockinette stitch, then you move along to a different stitch and you learn lots of things as you go. And then grandma's favorite, then you start learning increasing and decreasing. And, you know, once you can knit, purl, increase, and decrease, man, you're good to go. Then you can knit socks.
It's how I learned washcloths is how I learned to knit lace. Wait, I mean, you just learn also you can practice all sorts of fun
Right.
things in a washcloth.
Fantastic. I'll put the playlist down below if people want to do that.
Yay. It's great for movies. Take into the movies because they're
Yes.
big enough for my old eyes. Sometimes if I have dark socks, I can't quite see what I'm doing.
I know. I've reached the point of having an aught light, like a floor lamp next to my side of the couch. And then, I'm also to the point where I have like office glasses and out in the world glasses,
There's
I just bought myself some granny string, where you can have one on your neck and one here. Like, you know what I mean?
that that's what I need. I've got these are my bifocals, but apparently now I can't do my computer with my regular bifocals. I have to have different prisms. So I started out our right when I was prepping for the podcast, I had these on. I thinking I can't see the expressions on Jana's face.
I know.
So
I sometimes have my granny strings. And then if you have prescription lenses, sunglasses, then you got,
they're
but
out in the
out in the
car.
world, these usually stay here at the computer. So out in
Mhm.
the world, I have my sunglasses and I have these. But yeah,
My prescription sunglasses are in my car.
we're getting
And
out. Well, I
these
know.
are usually on my face and these are
We're
by the computer.
all
But then
same,
that's a
same.
lot to update. So, um, I hope no optometrists are watching, but my prescription in my car is like 1 or 2 behind because, dude, that's a lot of upkeep. I'd rather buy yarn.
I know. Speaking of, you have so many finished objects. I want to see your stack of socks.
I have a stack of socks and a shawl.
Wow.
There's there's my stack of socks.
Wow. Are they in chronological order?
They are.
Fantastic.
They are.
The
I
reason I
cannot.
ask that is because I recognize the Woolens and Nosh Advent Kit ones, and I will tell you when you hold those up, I'm gonna interject and tell you what's coming up with that. But go ahead.
Ooh. Well, maybe we should start with that instead then,
Okay.
because I'm excited to hear what's happening. So I'll hold these up and then you can talk about it, okay? Okay.
Wow. Okay, so this was last December's Advent sock kit from Woolens and Nosh, which I'll put the link down below. So what the deal is you have people have watched before, but just briefly, you have these stripes and you pull it out of the bag one stripe at a time and you knit that day's stripe and you have a neutral color between that matches the cuff and the heel and the toe color. So those minis come separately. But and it's 100 grams. But because Jill has smaller feet than me and knits shorties, well, not super short, but you were able to get two pair and your stripe sequence goes opposite because you're
It
brilliant.
it does. I think someone on so if you're a member of your Patreon, then we have knit nights. And I think somebody at knit night talked about it. And I went ahead and bought a second mini because she offered that later.
Right.
And so I went ahead and bought a second mini and just did another pair.
That's
So
fantastic.
I love them so much. They're so cute.
They're great. They're great. So, watch Michelle from Woolens and Nosh, watch her show's social media because I think later in August, she is offering the 2024 Advent kits. She's already gotten the pre-orders ready to go. So the pre-orders are going to ship soon, but she will have some in-stock ones ready to ship either the end of this month or early September because I had just spoken with her last week about that and I did some other businessy things. So she and I talked last week. So watch Michelle's social media if you want to get in on this year's Advent.
I
I'll put the
have
link.
actually, these are not finished. They are almost. But so at the retreat,
That was last year's retreat skein.
yes. So
Love it.
yeah, so it's
So
part of the
Michelle has done some this color. If you love it, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm glad you love it, but it's not publicly available. This was a custom project that Michelle did for me for our event. And
yes.
that's why I was talking with her last week is because we're going to have another one
Oh, that's
for this
exciting.
year.
So I figured I need to get these done
So
before
you can wear them.
so I can wear them this coming year. Yeah. So,
Yes.
yep. So actually, while I was in Ogden, we have a yarn store party, and at the yarn store party, Chloe there is the dyer of Bird and Begonia, and this is her yarn. And I just made like little Rose City rollers
Yeah.
because I wanted to try that. My daughter always likes shorties, so I thought I'll see how those work. So that's those.
Nice.
Yeah. So those
And
are
I
her.
will say a note on that real quick. I think the Rose City roller pattern is no longer available on
Oh
Ravelry.
my
But
god.
all it is a tiny little cuff and it rolls because it's just knit, knit, knit. Like you don't do garter stitch, you don't do ribbing, and it rolls on its own. That's all it is. So you could totally do that yourself with my cuff down pattern and just knit, I don't know, like 10 rows or something and let it curl on its own. That's all that is.
Yep, it is just 10 rows. I wrote that down on my Ravelry
I was
page.
guessing.
Well, you are a good guesser.
So, and then it's just following, the numbers of your regular sock, vanilla sock. Yeah.
Mhm.
So not too hard.
Yep.
So that's the first two socks you knitted in 2024.
Yes. These actually are fingering held double, which and it's Tippy Tree yarns called I Smell
Oh,
Snow.
wow.
Yep, and then leftover bits from my Find Your Fade shawl, actually.
Excellent.
So I really like how those turned out. I knit with DK a lot, a lot, a lot, and I've not
Yeah.
ever done fingering held double. And this could be my new favorite winter sock. They are thick and cozy and
Squishy.
warm. I
Lovely.
tend at my feet get very cold, so really that's what I wear all winter is just
Yeah,
socks
same.
now.
Yeah, I often complain about how we live in a old farmhouse with no insulation in the floors. So yeah, I wear DK socks in the winter a lot.
A lot.
And I will say that's a great idea. We've had a couple people do that. If you have a lighter weight fingering, like the yarn I used to always knit with from a girl in her wool who's no longer in business, but her sock yarn was very, very light fingering. So if you were going to use a single strand, I'm knitting like 10, 11 stitches per inch because it's so thin. But I also that's the gauge I prefer to have a thicker fabric. But you could
Mhm.
totally I think my next pair is gonna be held double because I have some of that in my stash I need to use up, so it's gonna be held double. It's
That's
great.
so funny. I started with some of hers
Yeah,
and got a little ways and found it was too thin for the heavy use that I was going to have for it.
yeah,
I'm very, very hard on my socks. And that's what I'm going to do. I ripped it all back out. And now that I know that
yeah,
this works and what
yeah,
size needle I need to use for the way I
yeah,
knit on these, that's what I'm going to do with
yeah,
with
and
my
it's easy
ball.
enough to just cake it and then pull from the inside and the outside both.
Oh, see, you're getting all fancy.
Or actually what's easier than that, and because if you do that, then your cake twists. But what's
Hmm.
easier to do is just go ahead and split it half and half and then just pull from 2 cakes, and then you won't have the twisting business.
That's what I end up doing. I think, don't you have a video on center pull?
Oh, to make your own?
Hmm.
If you wanted to wind your own, like, around a wooden spoon, sure. If you don't have a Swift
Oh,
and a
no,
winder,
I was just thinking like a ball winder, like trying to get it all out. I don't use the middle. It makes me too nervous.
I don't like the middle. I also don't like how it collapses. A lot of people use the yarn cozies, and they love that. I just pull from the outside.
That's what I do too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just look at that!
This is actually yarn that you gave me a couple years ago.
Oh,
Yep. This is called Marilla, and I'm a big Anne of Green Gables fan. Love if you've watched for a while, my daughter and I do audiobooks and we did the whole 9-book series. So we're big Anne of Green Gables fans and
cool.
Marilla is an Anne of Green Gables. And this is actually Bird and Begonia as well.
Oh, I
So,
remember that. Yeah, now I remember that you said that, and I remember what skein that was. Yeah,
yeah.
again, got that at Needlepoint Joint at Retreat, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
excited. I like that so much. I love the way it, like, came out. You know what I mean? And those little micro stripes.
Love it.
So cute. Love it.
Cool.
And what I love, I typically put my socks, like, in a pile until we podcast. I have a gazillion new pair of socks to wear.
That's
Like,
fantastic because you're, like, all picky and you won't wear them until we show them. I would go ahead and wear them, but let me interject and say this. If you're interested in seeing Jill's projects, I'll put a link down below to her Ravelry project page, and you can just go click on whatever you're interested in seeing. If you want a recap of like what yarn she used, etc., we'll just put a link to your projects down below
okay, that
rather
sounds
than
good.
each individual thing because that's tedious.
Oh my goodness, that would be a lot
Because you
of
have a lot.
yarn, a lot of yarn people to talk about. Yeah.
Wow.
And this is leftover from a girl in her wool who's no longer dying, which makes me a little bit
But look how
sad.
pretty.
So my daughter is starting high school and I will be going to a lot of football and soccer games. She is going to cheer this year. And so it's going to be cold. So I'm starting to make warm things in blue because there'll be a lot of blue
Cool
outside
colors.
and
Yeah.
I own no blue. So, yep. So that's my goal.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well,
Those, and I have a couple pair of socks going. I have the Woolens and Nosh going, and I have um, a little, is it Kirby Werby? I don't have the other one here. Just a little rainbowy.
so cute. Oh, wow. That's gonna be fantastic.
They will be fun. Um, a a fellow friend from our Purl Together
Yeah.
group
Yeah.
was looking for a certain kind of yarn from a girl in her wool, and I happened to have several skeins of it. She wanted to make a sweater, and
Oh.
so I sent her, and she was 2 skeins short, so I sent that to her, and she sent me some yarn, and she sent me this fun,
Don't you love little yarn
well,
barter with your friends?
it is, because it's not anything that I would have picked out for myself, but I absolutely love it, and
Is
it's
that
so
fun?
fun. I can't
That's
wait to have those knit up.
Just step outside your comfort zone a little bit.
Yes.
It's fun.
Yes.
Fun.
That's it. And then my big blue. This
Oh,
is
yeah, you're gonna have to wear that,
this is the Sophie shawl,
right?
and it's the large size.
Okay.
I made one in forest green and absolutely loved it. So I made another one in blue.
Nice. For
'Cause I'll
those
be wearing
games this fall.
for those games this fall. So I will be toasty.
No.
This is a really nice one that you can knot up and knit up. And
Are you gonna make yourself a hat too?
I think so, but I think I want to do the Musselburgh because it would be warm. I need to see if Malabrigo has this color because I'm such a matchy girl.
In the sock weight? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. The other one that you could do the Musselburgh, but you could also do a Sockhead Slouch Hat. That's also good if you don't want the double.
You've done several Sockhead Slouch hats, I believe.
Yep, by Kelly McClure. I'll put the link down below. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
And I imagine
Fun!
I'll do some bands too. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. That's what is on my needles. Well, on my needles right now, I'm procrastinating. I'm at a pickup point with the um petite knit slip over.
Oh, okay. You talked about
Yeah.
that at midnight.
I did, and I'm at a point where I have to think. So I've just been grabbing my socks because most of the time when I knit, it's late at night
Yeah.
and I'm not ready to think. So yeah. So eventually that will be, oh my goodness. You can tell it's been a while since I've gotten it out. It's all wrinkly.
It's okay. It'll be blocked.
I know, but I don't know that I've ever put a project away for so long that it wrinkled all up. So,
Because you used to be monogamous
yes,
until you were corrupted.
I'm telling you, I understand now.
Uh-huh.
Yep,
Hey, excellent. That's exciting.
it is. So many fun things going on.
Yes. Okay. So for next week, for the second installment of Clog Vlog, we're just going to knit the inner sole. That's it. And I will correspond to maybe what we should do is correspond to the tutorials that I've already done.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
So for next week, we'll do the inner sole. I'll put the link to the tutorial video for that down below in the description. There won't be any addendum to that because you just knit that. You don't knit that in the round to start with anyway.
Sounds great. Can't wait to see you.
Thanks so much for joining me again. This is fun.
It was so much fun. Thank
Missed
you.
you.
Oh,
Bye.
bye.